All right, so you're ready to start making those bucket list travel plans? Maybe you want to travel internationally to see the grandkids. Well, you're going to need a passport, and I'm sure you have questions. You've come to the right place. I'm Sheldon with US Passport Service Guide, and for over 20 years, we've been helping viewers and readers like you with their passport and travel document questions. Stay tuned, and we're going to share some of the biggest questions we've gotten from senior citizen travelers like you. The first step is to figure out the correct way to apply. If you've never had a passport before, or if your passport is lost, severely damaged, or God forbid it was stolen, you're going to need to use Form DS-11 and apply for a brand new passport. If you've had a passport before and it was issued within the last 15 years, you can use Form DS-82. You're applying for a passport renewal. And here's a fun tidbit. If your passport's already expired, but it was issued less than 15 years ago, you can still apply for a renewal. However, if your passport's more than 15 years old, you're starting over with Form DS-11 and applying for a brand new passport. So let's get into the actual application process. For each of those forms, there's two different ways you can fill it out. You can fill it out using the State Department's form filler application, or you can print it out and fill it out by hand with black pen. No matter which one you need to fill out, we have guides, check the links in the description, to walk you through step by step for both DS-11 and DS-82, so you can make sure your passport application is error-free and it gets processed the way you need it to be. Now, one of the questions we get a lot, especially from senior citizens, is what if I don't have the grip strength or the hand strength to complete that application by hand? In those cases, we strongly suggest using the online form filler. If you're not comfortable typing your information into something that's being filled out on the internet, well, you can have somebody help you fill that out. No matter which form you use, you are going to have to sign it. If it's Form DS-11, you're going to have to sign it when you go to your passport appointment. If it's Form DS-82, you're going to sign it before you seal it in your envelope and mail it off. If that signature proves to be a physical challenge for you, the State Department has an allowance for this. You can make a mark. A simple X will do. However, you will need a witness to attest that they saw you sign that document, and they are going to need to provide identification to who they are. For loved ones under legal guardianship, that court-appointed guardian is actually going to sign under the applicant's name on behalf of the applicant. They also need to submit that court-ordered document showing their legal guardianship status. One thing to note is that eligible U.S. citizens can now renew their passport entirely online. They don't have to handwrite anything. The only caveat is your travel plans need to be at least 8 weeks away. There is no option for expediting an online renewal at this time. Another important tip has to do with your passport photo. You are not allowed to wear glasses, head coverings, or have anything on your face that obstructs your appearance. However, there are some exceptions. If you are required to wear glasses at all times, you have a medical reason for that, and you can provide a doctor's note that attests to that fact. Include that in your application, and you can get away with wearing glasses in your passport photo. The same thing goes with if you have any kind of medical devices, whether it's a breathing apparatus or something else that's designed to help you medically, and you cannot remove it, and it's part of your day-to-day appearance. Again, submit the doctor's note along with your application, and you should be fine. Now, when it comes to head coverings, if they're religious in nature, you need to make a sworn statement of why you are wearing that head covering and include it in your documentation when you submit your application. If it's for a medical reason, again, get that doctor's note, pop it in your application, and you should be okay. Another issue that we hear about a lot from our older readers and older viewers is what if they don't have a birth certificate? Prior to 1940, that wasn't necessarily a guaranteed practice, and there are plenty of people who are applying for a passport who just simply don't have that singular birth certificate record that other applicants might. You do have some options. You can provide secondary evidence of your birth. So a delayed birth certificate, a baptism record, these things can be used in place of a missing birth certificate. A letter of no record, early census papers can also be used. There is an understanding that especially for people born in the 1940s, these records may not exist as readily as they would be for the rest of us. One tip though, if you have to go this secondary evidence route, gather as much as you possibly can and start that process as soon as possible. Sometimes it can take a while to get those records in hand. Here's a question that pops up a lot. When I'm applying for a passport book, there's a box that asks, do you want a large book? What does that mean? Here's the thing. You can't add pages to a passport book. Once they're filled with visa stamps, that's it. You're going to have to renew and get a new one, whether there's validity remaining on this thing or not. So what the State Department offers is a 52-page large book. This book has enough pages to last you a very long time, presumably 10 years. So one travel hack we always recommend is when you're applying for a new passport book, check that box for that 52-page large book. It doesn't cost you anything extra and guarantees you will have enough pages for all the visas you need for every cruise, trip, vacation, flight you take over the next 10 years. Another issue that pops up from time to time are questions about the check that you need to enclose with your application. You're going to make that out to the U.S. Department of State. You're going to use blue or black ink, and you want to make sure you include your date of birth in the memo section of that check. What that'll do is if your check somehow gets separated from the rest of your materials, it's an easy way to reunite your payment and your application and keep things moving along. One of the questions we get from applicants of all ages has to do with attaching your passport photo to your passport application. You have to use 4 staples carefully placed vertically along the edge in the corners. Now, it shows you on the application exactly where that's supposed to go, but some people either lack the grip strength or are worried that they're not going to get things lined up just right and it's going to lead to delays. It's a reasonable fear to have. So if you're that worried about it, or you just don't feel confident enough that you're going to be able to get it just right, you can bring that photo loose and bring that to your passport appointment with your application and just let whoever the passport acceptance agent know, and they will help you with the process. Likewise, if you're going with a registered passport expediting service to help you through this process to get your passport even faster, they will provide you guidance and support as well. Speaking of passport appointments, if you need a passport within the next 2 weeks, you're going to have to make an appointment and go to a regional passport agency. If you're applying with DS11 for a new passport, you're going to have to go to a passport acceptance facility. All of these require appointments. While yes, there's a chance that walk-ins are accepted, you really don't want to rely on that. You're going to want to make that appointment. Check the link in the description for how those processes work. If your passport application requires you to go to an appointment, so that means either you're using DS11 to get a new passport, or if you're renewing urgently, meaning you need to go to a regional passport agency, and for whatever reason, you have either some kind of physical or mental impairment that makes it a challenge for you to do so, there are accommodations available. This includes things like deafness, blindness, vision impairment, lack of mobility, mental impairments. All of these things can be accommodated for, but there is an extra step you need to take. If you're applying at a regional passport agency and you have proof of urgent travel, you're going to go ahead and make your appointment online. There's a whole guide in the description for how to do that. Once you have your confirmation that has come back from that regional agency that your appointment's been approved, you're going to also want to call them. This is going to be how you get on record whatever type of assistance you think you are going to need for your particular disability. They'll accommodate you, but you have to make sure they know what to expect. If you're applying at a passport acceptance facility with Form DS11, whether it be at a library or a post office or a town clerk's office, you need to do the same thing. Make your appointment, and then you need to contact wherever you are going for that appointment so they know what to expect. That could be things as simple as mobility, deafness, blindness or low vision, mental incapacitation, whatever it may be, they will accommodate you. If you need a passport, they're going to make sure you can get one. They just need to know what to expect. Another thing to consider is if you're applying with Form DS11, you need to swear an oath in front of a passport agent. Now, if you are unable to do so, meaning like you verbally cannot swear that oath, there are other options. For instance, you can sign or make a mark. Again, you just need to make sure the acceptance agents know what your disability is, and they will help you through that process and work around whatever that disadvantage you have may be. Another way to simplify the appointment process is by hiring a passport expediting service. These professionals will gather your materials and they will bring them to the appointments for you. And then they will either ship back or hand deliver your passport as fast as you need it. We've been reviewing passport expediting services for the past 2 decades. Check out the link in the description for our top picks, and you can be on your way as fast as you need to be. This next tip is for those of you who already have a passport. Even if it hasn't expired yet, you want to check and see how close you actually are to that expiration date. There are some countries that follow what's called the 6-month rule, that they will not let you into the country if your passport does not have at least 6 months of validity remaining on it. This is to make sure that you're not stuck in that country undocumented and causing issues. There are also several countries that have a 3-month rule. So again, the best advice we can give is any place you're planning to travel internationally, check what their rules are and make sure your passport meets their requirements. If it turns out you're cutting it a little too close, go ahead and renew now. We recommend renewing your passport when there's somewhere between 9 and 12 months of validity left to account for processing time and to give you enough wiggle room should you be going to one of these countries in the near future. Don't worry, there's no such thing as renewing your passport too early, only too late. All right, and last but not least, the big question we get all the time, what are we talking about in terms of costs? Is there such thing as a senior discount when you're applying for a passport? Unfortunately, the answer is no. All adult passports, regardless of age, cost the same. Trust me, we get it. Passports aren't the cheapest thing, and things in this world are getting much more expensive. If you need a passport book within the next 4 to 6 weeks, it's going to cost you $130. If you need a passport card instead, just $30. Now, what you need to understand is a passport card cannot be used for any international flight. It'll get you on the cruise, it'll allow you to drive across the border into Canada or Mexico and back, but it will not allow you on a plane. That said, you can use a passport card as a form of real ID, which will allow you to get onto a domestic flight. Say you're flying from Texas to California. Say you're flying from Michigan to Florida. A passport card will get you through that TSA check. It just will not get you through customs to fly internationally. If you need a passport sooner than 4 to 6 weeks from now, you're going to have to spend an additional $60 to expedite it. Normal expediting is 2 to 3 week turnaround time, plus whatever shipping time happens on either end. If you spend an extra $20 on top of that, you can get 1 to 2 day overnight delivery, and then you can be sure you get your passport back as quickly as possible once it's been issued. Now, if you need a passport even sooner than 2 weeks from now, you need to have proof of urgent travel. That's going to require that you go to a regional passport agency with an appointment and provide documentation of why you need to travel that soon. Something as simple as a booked plane ticket, a travel itinerary, or, in the worst case scenario, proof of some kind of life or death emergency. You're still going to have to pay the same fees. You're going to pay the $60 expediting fee, but you can get a passport as soon as the next 24 to 48 hours with the right documentation. Now, if the idea of traveling to one of these 26 regional passport agencies seems daunting or just impossible to you, that's where a professional expediting service can come in. You provide them with all your documentation, your application, your proof of ID, your payments. They will make and go to the appointment on your behalf, and then they will make sure you get your passport as soon as possible. It's a massive time saver, it reduces stress, and it can simplify the process and make sure you can stay home and comfortable and let somebody else do all the legwork for you. Check out the link in the description for a video that breaks down the difference between going the do-it-yourself route versus hiring a passport expediter to help you. Well, I hope we've been able to answer some of your pressing questions when it comes to applying for a passport. Any other questions you have, feel free to drop them in the comments and we will get back to you with as much help as we can give. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with anybody who you think this may help. Safe travels, everybody.